One game, however, Matthew, that I'm not shit at, that I would go so far as to say I am decent at, is Hades. It's in the conversation for Game of the Year 100%. So, Hades, for those that don't know, is... Yeah, I mentioned Spelunky 2, a roguelike. This is a roguelite. This is the type of rogue that I can get on board with. Based around Greek mythology, you play as this young lad called Zagreus, who is actually the dreamboat son of Hades, the Lord of the Dead. And Zagreus is looking to escape hell and reach the surface through...
Aren't we all?
Or for reasons that I believe are discovered in the game, so I won't go into it. But yeah, you escape hell by going through these 4 different worlds, each with set of randomly generated rooms and different enemies and all that. And as I hope you can see from the footage, it is mental how action-packed this is. So in Hades, you have a choice of 6 different weapons, which is something I want to talk about first because they change. There's so much about this game that change how you play it and how you approach each run. Firstly, yes, you have your 6 different weapons. You have a bow and arrow, you have a machine gun, you have a sword, you have these like metal punching gloves basically, and yeah, there's all different, your bow and arrow is obviously more distance based, your little metal gauntlets are going to be closer combat, and how they interact with the upgrades you get on each run is another way of how this totally changes the game. These upgrades are called boons, and you get that by talking to these gods that you come across after you clear rooms. And
are the gods random?
The gods are random. So I should say, if I didn't, the rooms that you come into are procedurally, or no, are they procedurally generated? No, I think they're randomly doled out. I think, right. But I don't know. I think they are. But the gods and what gods you come across are random, yes. And there's like, Poseidon, who'll give you water-based attacks. Zeus will give you lightning-based.
Classic. That's classic Zeus.
It is classic Zeus, but that's what I want. That's what I want from my Olympian gods.
The one thing I know about Hades is that lots of people on Twitter lust after the gods.
Well, they're very sexy. Like all of these gods, no matter who they are, like, and no matter how little clothing they're wearing, they're just dead sexy, Matthew. Like Zagreus reminds me a little bit of Bowie, really, in his two-toned eyes. His hair is probably a little bit more, I don't know, Green Day in the early 2000s, perhaps. But as well as the boons, they're, you have discussions with them. Like, this is a game where story is paramount as well, because it's made by Supergiant, who brought us Bastion, your favorite game, Pyre, Transistor, and so on. And during the runs, you'll have chats with the gods, and they'll reference, say, the weapons you have, the powers you have, maybe previous runs, discussions you've had with other people. And in between runs, you go back to your base, where you'll come across Hades, the house contractor, Orpheus, all these different characters. And say Hypnos, for example, who's at your base of operations, they'll discuss what enemy just killed you. And there's on the final boss, there's a funny little point that they make on the final boss, but I won't mention it. But you do genuinely learn more about the characters as you go along, and you do sort of get attached to them. There's no like dialogue options or anything like that, but there's a genuine care for, as well as how they look and the sexiness of each character, like the voice acting, the personality of each character as well. But where this differs, say, from a Spelunky 2 is that, well, one, Spelunky 2 is a roguelike, this is a roguelite. So there are persistent elements. Now, your boons will go away when you die in between each run. Your money goes. What else goes? I don't know. But you do keep things like darkness.
A bit of your pride.
A bit of your pride indeed. But you do keep things like darkness, which you can spend on your Mirror of Night, which allows you to get permanent upgrades to your character. There are other things like Titan Blood, which you can use to upgrade your weapons. So it's that level of persistency that's what I come for, so that I have some progression, because I've dumped like 20, I think I checked before, I think it's like 22 hours into this. I have finished this game once. And
you have finished it?
I have finished it, yeah. But
is
the only the once.
Still give it another go after that?
Straight away. Like I never do this. When I finish a game, it's like off, gone, on to the next one. Straight away, I was like, let's go again, because I finished it with an adamant rail, which is your machine gun. I was like, I think I could do it with the spear, so I'm going to give that a go. And I got to the boss, but I died when I got to the boss. But there is that, I don't know, you're kind of urged to play again because, well, one, the story doesn't conclude. You don't see credits when you complete it once. So, if you are invested, and after 20 or so hours, you probably are going to be invested in the characters, you're going to want to see the conclusion to that story. You're going to want to see if you can complete the game with another weapon, with a different set of boons. It is, what an absolute marvel of a video game. Like, actually, one thing I do want to mention before we wind down is how this game treats difficulty. So, this doesn't have an easy, a normal, or a hard mode. What you can do in Hades, if you're finding it difficult, and you will find it difficult because it is, you can turn on something called God mode, which when you turn it on, it gives you 20% damage resistance. And every time you die, that rises by 2%. So you die, goes up to 22, you die, go up to 24, and so on and so forth. And what I think that they've dealt with the level of difficulty, or the conversation around difficulty, so well, because one, they've called this God mode and not easy. Oh, you can't finish it. Baby mode, like, what is it? Wolfenstein, although I do quite where he's wearing the thing. And also, like, each time you die, it's like the game recognizing, look, he or she's struggling a little bit here. Just give them a little bit on top. So now they're going to be a slightly more resistant to damage. And all the rooms and everything, the characters, the boons, the weapons. You like a spicy take, Matthew. And
I do.
I can't come to you with more than this is 100% a Game of the Year contender. It is phenomenal.